Okay, I will open the meeting at 9:06 a.m. Thank you for your attendance. Apologies. I would like to move a leave of absence for Councillor Ladbrook for today's meeting. We have a seconder, Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour? 1, 2,
Yes.
3, 4, 5, 6,
Yes.
7. 7-0.
Mr Mayor, should we just note that Councillor Burkett will be half hour
Probably,
late,
yeah.
approximately half hour late?
Yeah, we'll notice that, and I think he's nearly here, so he'll be right. And okay, now moving on.
So just through the chair, what we have managed to do is also include the minutes for last night, for the minute we held yesterday as well as part of the agenda, so that there's 2 sets of minutes to endorse.
Okay, right. So we'll start with the 10th of May 2023. Do we have a confirmation of the minutes of the 10th of May? Councillor Guthrie. Do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Then we're going to go to the vote. Yep.
Sorry. Sorry, keep going.
Righto. Okay.
Councillor Guthrie has to move it.
Yeah, please go on.
Can I move that the minutes of the ordinary meeting held on the 10th of May 2023 be confirmed?
Okay. And Councillor McMullen's happy to second that as he intimated.
Yep.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Councillor Edwards, I'll abstain.
Okay. And
Yes.
okay, so that's 6-1 with the abstention. If I can call for division. Okay, moving on to the special meeting at 4 p.m. Yesterday, 23rd of May. Do we have a mover on those minutes?
Mr Mayor, I'll move that the minutes of the special meeting held on the 23rd of May 2023 be confirmed.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
Question, sorry.
Please go ahead.
Just in the minutes, apologies, Councillor Ladbrook was an apology for the meeting, but we actually never moved a motion of apology. I know we're noting his apology, but it's more, I think we more noted it. We didn't actually move an official policy, so I just don't think that's quite correct.
Well, the reality is that it is right. He did officially notify us of his absence. He did his side. We should have moved that leave of absence in the meeting. We didn't. So we're noting the minutes about exactly what we've done, and we've definitely made sure that today we've noted that leave of absence.
How do we normally note it when we do move it?
A leave of absence be granted. So there's the 2 parts. The councillor's done their side. We should have done the other side. And essentially what you've got is an order of business that does allow us to do that, but we went through pretty quickly yesterday.
Okay, as long as it's recorded right in the minutes.
Yep.
Okay, so is the mover happy with that?
Yeah,
Or-
Mr Mayor, yeah.
And you moved it, didn't you?
I moved, yeah.
Yep, I'll second that. Okay, and then if no one wishes to speak, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, 7-0. Righto, now moving,
What? Right, Mr Mayor, Councillor Guthrie just realised my name's still
your
in front of
name
you.
is in front of you.
all right, okay, we can
don't know
swap
whether-
that around.
I'll get it.
Not that it's a problem for you, but it's disconcerting for...
Yeah, no, I've had that before, actually, with councillors being missing and someone else being there.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to keep going. On the table, the 5.1 Revenue Policy 2023-24, page 33. And so we got advice, and that's been circulated to everyone, I believe. Yep. So I'm happy to move.
Is that this advice that was just handed to us is in reference to this policy?
Yeah,
So through the chair, at the last meeting, you did ask for advice. You did have discussion around general concessions about where's the best place to put those concessions one way or another. The advice is confirming that that information. The revenue policy was laid on the table. The advice suggests that it doesn't need to go on the revenue policy. The revenue policy can be considered at this meeting in the same vein as it was the last meeting. You just had some questions which we needed to confirm.
It's just that I haven't had a chance. We
Can
both
I
haven't
ask a
handed it,
question,
so we
please?
Sure.
haven't read this advice.
okay, we'll just adjourn and we'll read it and we'll be back. Okay, right, we're back in the meeting. We're on 5.1, Revenue Policy 2023-24. Councillor Edwards, you have a question.
Yeah, just on write-off powers down the bottom of that document. It just says, unfortunately, blah, blah, blah. It just says, well, to tell you the truth, I just don't understand it. So what I'm asking is, if you've got a small amount which is overdue on your rates notice, right? What is that saying about that? Just say, for example, you missed paying it and you missed your discount
But
and you've got interest on it. Does that cover that?
yeah,
Does
so
that cover?
is this a question about the revenue policy, something in the revenue
Yes.
policy?
What page?
Yes, because we get one crack at it.
Righto, so what
Okay.
page on the revenue policy?
Oh, sorry, I don't know what page on the revenue policy, but I'm just, it's just a general question. What happens in that circumstance? Is there, do we have to put it in the revenue policy to promote that? Do we have to put it in the revenue policy? Yeah, do you understand where I'm coming from
I
with
think
the
through
question?
the chair, I think so.
Yeah, just say someone has missed paying their rates, overdue rates, right?
Yep.
And they've got a small amount of interest on that, which is 40 cents. 40 cents. Can we write that amount off, the 40 cents?
Look, through the chair, we had debate in the chamber in relation to that, just around our administrative processes about, and it's exactly was about that question is, if somebody owed $1, the cost of actually sending out the rate notice and actually chasing the dollar is actually far less than the cost of actually doing that. The reality is we sought to get some advice around that, just saying, because our practice was just to round things.
Yes.
And so hence we got some advice in relation to that, just to make sure that we were working within our legislative provisions.
And what's the advice say?
And it's really saying is, it's complicated, is what it's saying, is really rates are rates and they shouldn't be written off without council making a decision accordingly.
But
So
this is interest.
what-
This is interest.
Yeah, interest is different because that's a charge that council can actually look at having a change or an adjustment under delegation. But the levying of rates, if it was $1 and it was actually about the rates, we can't write it off. We don't have the power to write it off as officers. So we were just making sure administratively we were doing the right thing. Interest is in essence a fee, if that makes sense. So the council has the ability to adjust that. But a rate is a tax, and that tax is locked in, and the only people with the power to really make those concessions, discounts, changes to that rating amount is council.
So my question is, there's no point in putting anything in the revenue statement today which is going to change that practice. We just can't
No.
write it off.
No.
It's as simple as that. There's nothing we can do in the revenue statement because once we pass this revenue statement today, that's it for the 12 months, correct?
That's exactly right.
Okay, so we can't
it's-
do anything after that.
It's in principally supporting as it stands to roll it into your, yes, it is. And importantly, we will go back and actually look at our administrative processes and make sure that we are not making decisions about rates and that any decision we are making is within our administrative remit.
Yeah, because I know from what I've heard is that it's very upsetting for people to have to pay 40 cents, on top of something else, especially when they think they've paid the rest of it off, and then all of a sudden they get hit with a bill for 40 cents. It's just
Yeah.
quite stupid, really.
Yes,
So that, and councillor, that is something that CEO's looking at, and that could be a
Yeah.
fee, and that could be something that we could either have in our delegations or we could actually have in our concessions policy perhaps, but we're not dealing with that one today. We're dealing with the revenue policy. And the advice was to keep this very general and
Yep.
then have the other policies, once we've got legal advice, what we can do there. And it'll
You
come
see
back.
where
from-
I'm coming. You
Yeah,
see where
yeah.
I'm coming from, but I thought it might have had to have been specifically mentioned in the revenue policy for it to occur. For us to do that.
look, through the chair, yes, but in essence, the organisation doesn't have the power to write off rates. It's a
No.
power that can't be delegated away from the council.
See, what I'm saying is, and I don't want to go on too much about it, but you can either hardwire this revenue policy, you can hardwire it,
Yeah,
right? Hardwire it or expressly legislate, or we don't legislate, but we can use our powers to do that. So we either do that or we have a discretion in the policy to write those amounts off. It's either hardwire it or we have a discretion. Yeah, it's either
Yeah.
one or the other. Yeah.
Well, as the CEO said, the one you're probably referring to might be interest, and that is a different kettle of fish. Council can do things about that, so
Yep.
we'll obviously have a look at that. But one of the negatives, if you hardwire something into here and you realise, like we've done many times, that during the year it needs to change, you can't change it. So that's why they were
Exactly.
saying the concession policy is a better place to do that.
Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you.
Right, any other questions? Okay, I'd like to move that council receive and note the document titled Revenue Policy 2023-24, 2 in accordance with section 193 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, adopt the Revenue Policy 2023-24. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Guthrie, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, 8-0. Okay, moving on. Um, 8.1, Roma Recreation Centre, lease and management agreement. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that council pursuant to, Kel, there's no changes, is
Yeah,
there?
next page, 38.
We're amending.
There you go, amendment. The council pursuant to
No, council amend
the
resolution.
council amend resolution number 0M07202-54 to read as follows. Council pursuant to S2362 of the local government regulation, Queensland that council grant the lease or lessee the subject of the following resolutions without tender or auction on the basis that the trustee lease or lessees are to be granted to a community organisation as permitted by the exception conferred by S2361B2 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 Queensland. 2, that council grant one or more trustee leases to Queensland Police Citizens Youth Welfare Association, PCYC, a charity registered with the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profits Commission, over part of the reserve land described as Lot 5 on SP 103335, subject to the following conditions. A, the total term, including options to renew, of the trustee lease or leases is to not exceed 10 years. B, the rent will be determined by council's chief executive officer or delegate, having regard to the nature of the services that Queensland Police Citizens Youth Welfare Association will provide to the local community. C, council and Queensland Police Citizens Youth Welfare Association reaching agreement on the terms and conditions of the lease or leases, including without limitation to the size and specific location of the premises, to the satisfaction of the chief executive officer or delegate. 3, subject always to be to the preceding resolutions that the chief executive officer or delegate is authorised to A, negotiate and accept the terms of the lease with Queensland Police Citizens Youth Welfare Association or its delegate. B, negotiate about an agreement percentage of free access be provided for hard-to-reach groups. C, explore options for cost-effective solutions for groups that need regular training access. D, sign the lease and any associated documentation, including documents to confirm council's support for the project. 4, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or delegate to enter a trustee permit with Queensland Police Citizens Youth Welfare Association commencing from 1 September 2022 in respect to the Roma Recreational Centre for a period of 6 months while the trustee lease is finalised.
Okay, do we have a second?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question, please.
Please, go ahead.
In point 2B, the rent will be determined by chief, the CEO or delegate. Is that normal?
Through the chair, my understanding was probably a peppercorn. We have done that before with such leases where they're of no significant financial contribution. If you recall, probably the most recently was one of the childcare centres.
Yeah, and it's been
So it's just a
very
pepper-
standard like that as it's been going along. Do we have a question? Councillor Hancock?
So just with this lease, was it, it's for 10 years. Was it 10 years with an option or was it, so had the lease run out?
Just through the chair, why it's been represented to you is the fact is, one of your conditions was that if they hadn't signed, the other party hadn't signed the lease by the 30th of September, it would automatically lapse. And so as a result, they've signed the agreement and it is 10 years and there is no options. Quote unquote, the total term, including options to renew of the trustee lease or leases, is to not exceed 10 years.
Okay, so this one here, we're signing up a lease for 10 years?
The lease will be 10 years, including options. So through the chair, I can get that detail for you if you like. I'll just,
Total term, including options to renew, is to not exceed 10 years.
just you haven't got a
So
copy.
it's, so they just have to commit or not commit within that 10-year frame.
Yes, that's right.
And have we had any feedback about, like, is there, these terms are still, like, obviously, this is pretty similar to what we did for the last 10 years.
Yes.
Is there any feedback? Like, they're happy still with these terms? Is there anything that, like, 10 years is a long time, there's just not real difference. So I'm just, which could be fine. I just want to make sure we're setting up for 10 years. Like, I just wondered, and I understand we need to get this done, but I think Councillor Taylor asked at the beginning of the term to have a briefing with the PCYC just to even understand, what are their needs, how's it going, what...
Through the chair, I think you actually had a briefing quite some time ago. It might have been early last year. And
I don't know, we have had the sergeant come across.
Yes.
and made
Yes.
I
a
might not have
decision.
been.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, so look, it's taken a long time to negotiate. The recommendation, you had a resolution, it's just that it theoretically has lapsed because of the conditions.
Yeah, so if it didn't lapse, it wouldn't have even come back to council. It just would have went straight
Yes.
through as
Yes.
10 years. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, Councillor O'Neill, did you have something? And then Councillor McMullen.
I was just going to say that when we first awarded the tender or the lease arrangement to PCYC, I've got it in my head that we actually awarded it, the peppercorn was $1. And we embedded that. That was in the resolution.
Yeah.
So that's not clear here. It's leaving it to the CEO to delegate, but previously council has said $1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Councillor McMullen?
I was just going to say, from my interpretation of this, is the fact that section D on the original lease is taken out now and we're just giving a backdated 6 months to sort that out until the new lease is sorted out. And we're removing that D from the new lease, aren't we? Am I right?
CEO, what's your reading?
Reading the deed.
In the
Yeah.
original,
Highlighted,
the
see, so-
highlighted bit.
Yeah,
It-
so
it
if they run over by a week, they don't automatically
Yeah,
lose. their
exactly, that you
lease.
don't get into the same
Yeah,
problem where
yeah,
you've
same
got this
problem
hard
as last
deadline
time.
that you can't meet. It's been a pretty protracted process.
Okay, so we had a mover, I'll happy to second that. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it?
I'd just like to say, Mr Mayor, I'm pleased that we're getting it sorted, yeah.
And, yeah, I'll speak. Yeah, no, I think, and it's very good that there's, some more free access that's been, a part of this, and we've also got a very good, police officer in there and staff doing a great job, so I think, it's improving anyway, so I believe that, this is hopefully a very good deal for the people of the Maranoa with their facility working with PCYC. Okay,
Sorry, I have another question.
please go ahead.
So this resolution, if it gets up today, is actually for point 4, where it's saying that in respect to the Roma Recreation Centre for a period of 6 months while the trustee lease is being finalised. So this is actually only for 6 months, and then the lease will kick in, from how I'm reading that now.
The
Whereas,
permit.
does that contradict point 2A, where it says it's for 10 years?
I do think they talk to each other. It's really the dovetailing in there is to say that we'll have a trustee permit arrangement until such time as the lease is signed. Just on page 39, there's just a bit of wording there that says whilst the trustee lease is finalised. So it's having the front end and a binding an agreement that allows them to be there under the trustee permit, and then the trustee lease is finalised. I think the restrictions in all of this are around the Land Act and the state the land being Crown, which is maximise the amount of term you can have and what they need to have in place legally.
Councillor Burkett?
Oh, just saying, maybe because it was lapsed and that's just to
Yes.
tie that period over
Yep.
until it's all ticked off.
That's right.
Okay, so we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
8-0. 10.1, Roma Saleyards Prime Sales. Do we have a mover? Councillor Burkett.
I'd like to move that due to the recommendation from the Rural Livestock Agents Association, RLAA,
Roma livestock,
what did I say?
rural.
Did I? Fogged up glasses or something. Sorry, Roma Livestock Agents Association, RLAA, Council nominate Tuesday as a regular sale day for prime cattle indefinitely moving forward. This will give certainty to producers that prime sale cattle are auctioned weekly at Roma.
We have a seconder, Councillor O'Neill. Any
Look, just through the chair, the only thing is, I'm just looking at that, that's only 6 weeks. Is that what we meant? Until the end of June 23, or was this supposed to be June 24?
Well, they actually say in the letter indefinitely, so I think we should have something.
It's just that,
To say it. There's no in the resolution doesn't give a timeframe though.
No, this says indefinitely.
Definitely.
Daniel,
I believe
okay.
previous resolution was until June 23.
Oh, apologies. No, it's all right. No, it's okay. Apologies. Yep, you're absolutely right. Sorry about that.
Righto. So,
Thank you.
did Councillor Burkett, do you have a question?
No.
No?
No, I did, but it was answered.
Righto. Okay, so we've got a mover and a seconder. Does someone wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Burkett, do you wish to speak to
Oh,
it?
just to say that it's good to have some clarity and for the community, the livestock community, that they know there's going to be a definite sale on and not looking at 2 anymore, just the one definite sale for the week.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor
to
McMullen.
speak for the motion, and my understanding, it's been prime cattle sales indefinitely, and that still leaves it open in 6 months' time or 12 months' time if they decide there's enough fat cattle to run a separate sales. It gives them the option to come back. That's my understanding of it. And
Yeah. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? I'll speak. I believe that the agents are a number one crucial stakeholder as far as selling cattle out there and bringing cattle. So I do believe that we should take their recommendation, and that makes common sense and gives clarity and certainty for producers.
Mr Mayor, it just does say in the letter, it was decided that prime sales going forward were incorporated with store sale held on a Tuesday permanently.
It does.
So they're pretty clear.
So do we need anything more in the?
No.
Mayor, because
Righto.
no disrespect to anyone, but in 2 years' time, we might have different agents and things might change. We've got indefinitely, they say permanent, but indefinitely gives us the opportunity to come back. Come back to the table with it.
Okay, no one else wish to speak? Does the mover wish to sum up?
No, thanks, Mr Mayor.
We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, 8-0.
Page 45.
11.1, monthly financial reports as at 30th of April 2023. I'd like to move that council receive and note the monthly financial report for the period ending 30th of April 2023. Do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour,
I just have a question.
please go ahead.
I'm on I'm on page 46. It says net rates, levies and charges, and the April 2023 actual is 45 million, whatever it is. And the second half yearly rates billings now issued. And so it says the percentage of the budget is 100% target. Is that saying that that's what we budgeted for and that's what we got, but we've still got more to come, haven't we?
Yes, through the chair. I'll just hand over to Dee Sullivan, our manager. But yes, I think that's what it's saying. But it's
Yes.
about timing.
Yes, it's all about timing because when the rates are levied, it's actually recognised as revenue at that time. Because we do accrual accounting, we don't do cash accounting, so it's recognised as revenue when the rates are levied.
Oh, so you're assuming that's what because that's what you've sent out.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah, because like on page 54, as of the 30th, 2023, there's still 10 million odd outstanding.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Sam.
Righto, we'll go and do the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
8-0.
Thanks, Dee. Thanks. Okay, so we've got page 61.
Okay. 14.1, Maranoa Liveability Strategy. I'd like to move that one, consider as part of the 23-24 FY budget deliberations the undertaking of a review and an update of the draft livability strategy prepared in 2020 to A, support the current corporate plan review underway, B, provide guidance to future informed decision-making about local, regional livability projects across the Maranoa, and 2, acknowledge that this report enacts Resolution OM/06.2022/08. Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Hancock, any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the
Just a
vote.
question.
Please go ahead.
Did you mention the amount there with the bits in yellow? Sorry.
The different one that we've got there.
I just don't see that amount in the report, and you didn't say it. I'm just wondering why it's on the screen.
We didn't actually put it in there. Considered as part of 23-24. Oh, yeah. Do we need that in there, CEO, or is it right the way it is?
Through the chair, I don't think the Chamber's actually raised it and wasn't in the original report. Of course, if council wants to make an amendment and include an amount, you can. Look, I think potentially from the officer's perspective, could you give us some potentially a bit of enlightenment in relation to why we would put an amount in there. Are you at that point at this stage?
It was really just to give us some guidance.
Yes.
Because the original AEC report, when I checked with the council, it was 45,000. So we thought to just do a review. We're not going to spend the same sort of money because we've got the bare bones. We've also got reflection from community engagement that we've done. So this is really just a 25. We just thought to give us an example.
I suppose if we don't put the,
It's just if you have that amount in there, it'll have to be said. And the other thing is that we need a GL number to put it to.
so it's a consideration, it's a consideration of
Yes.
budget, and so that's my only concern is if we put a figure in there, we might get to budget and choose another figure, like it's just a consideration.
But that's okay, but it does give direction to have that figure in there to then put that in the
Put that amount, the figure in the budget.
That's right. We can adjust the operational plan, the operational budget. So it certainly supports, from what the manager's saying, it supports their decision making in relation to should it be considered. You've got a figure in there that they've got some understanding of why they want that amount of money. So it's up to council if you think it improves the resolution to support that or not.
Right, well,
I'm
If it
happy to
says
have
any,
it. I just didn't see
Sorry.
it I just didn't see it in my agenda until I saw it on the screen, and the mayor didn't say it. So I was just wondering why he didn't say it if it's there.
It's reading off his agenda, I think.
Yeah,
Can I
no,
just
I'm
say something?
reading off the agenda and it wasn't in there, but both nearly say the same, but this gives clarity to the amount. So, and an amount, but it doesn't have to be that amount, but it could be. Councillor Edwards,
to-
did you have a question?
no, just on page 63, it says, spells it out pretty clearly. It is anticipated that an amount of up to 25,000 XGST will be required. So that's what the report says, up to.
Yeah, actually, I had that circled on that page too. I didn't actually just go over the page. Sorry.
Yeah.
Righto,
I actually have a question.
please go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, are we looking at doing this internally or externally? Or we haven't decided yet?
So to answer the question, no, we haven't thought about the processes yet. I mean, obviously we're mindful of trying to save as much money as we can because the report has been done. If there's an opportunity for us to do it internally, we're happy to take it on to do that because, as I said earlier, we've got the bare bones of what the report said, what our community is saying, and what we know out in the marketplace. So it may be an opportunity for us. If that's the case, then we wouldn't certainly need the 25,000. But it's just in case we've at least identified that is an option.
Right, so Councillor Hancock, are you happy to support if we put it in there?
Yes.
Right, so I'll put in there for the amount of up to $25,000 ex-GST. And the second, are happy with that? Right, okay. So I'll speak to the motion. From my memory, we did not endorse because the livability strategy did have some things that needed tweaking. So I do believe having all the new feedback from the whole region as far as the local plan update and so forth, I believe there's some things that will be very beneficial to put in there, and we also need to tweak the differences from the old strategy that may not be current today and put some of the newer things in. So I think a review of it would be very smart to get done. So I'll certainly be supporting this resolution and see if it gets up. Do we have anyone against the motion or wish to speak for the motion?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I'd just like to acknowledge the work done by staff, and I think it was a good process to be involved in, and also to all the community that participated and gave their valued information and support. So, well done. So hopefully it finishes off well.
Yeah. Councillor Hancock?
Mr Mayor, I'd just like to say that this document is now older. We actually haven't, as a council, had an opportunity to even have a briefing on this document. It was brought to council, it was laid on the table, and it's never been seen again. So it's really exciting for me to be able to have this document come back to the table. I think just because of the age of it, it does need an update. And with all the work that's been done around the corporate plan, it's good timing to do that. And I really am looking forward to the Maranoa being on the front foot and actually having a livability strategy that we can go out there and promote our region and get some actual outcomes from the strategy. And so I will really look forward to, hopefully when the strategy comes back, we might be able to have a briefing around that and really get some, have that opportunity to discuss as council what outcomes and how we can use the strategy to promote our region.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor O'Neill?
Yeah.
I'll speak. I'm supportive of the resolution. I'm mindful that a power of work went into the original document. We had Australia's leading demographer, Bernard Sold, as part of the process, which people in our community still talk about. It was a massive event out at Explorers when Bernard was in town to help with this. Had council adopted it in 2019, by now we would have had it back at the table, given the circumstances over the last 18 months, 2 years anyway, and the changes that have occurred in our community to recognise that and to pivot, as they say, to ensure that it is addressing what we want to address in making our community as livable as possible. I also acknowledge the former term. They made the decision at the very end of the last term to lay it on the table, so it was the ownership of the new term for them to have a look at. So it's a little bit frustrating it's taken so long to come back to us, but thanks to the staff for doing that, and I think the added investment that'll be embedded in the budget to kick this along will see a return in that we will have a document that is fresh for 2023, and we'll be able to address the things we need to address to make our place livable, or more livable.
Okay, Councillor Edwards?
Yeah, I'll be supporting it. I think it's a terrific initiative. Also, whilst it might be a fairly complicated and complex document by the looks of things, there's plenty of information in it. I think the outcome's fairly simple and what we want to achieve in making the Maranoa as being a upmarket, livability, strategy in place so that it does attract people. And the other thing is too, just going through the document, I'm particularly interested in, it's nice to see down the back of the report, there's quite a few case studies there on different regions, and it'll be interesting to see whether, and I hope we, maybe that's going to form part of the report again, review it, because it's interesting to see how we compare against other areas as well. So I'm fully in favour of it. I think it's a great thing. So I'll be supporting it. Thank you.
Okay, so no one else wish to speak. Then we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
8-0. Okay, moving on to the late.
Right, of course. This is L2. No, L1. L1, this is L2.
It doesn't look like.
It's funny, isn't it?
Okay, looks like we're on L2. L2, Wallumbilla Bridge. I'd like to move that a report be prepared for an upcoming meeting. And I just would like to clarify with opportunities of a low-cost initiative to find different solutions for the Wallumbilla Bridge. Because I believe there's some options there. So I'll make that the resolution.
Mr Mayor, this bridge are we talking about?
The May Street.
May Street.
It's been closed for a long time.
Oh, that one, yeah, I'm with you.
Councillor Hancock.
Mr Mayor, just through the chair, can I ask Director Steve, because he gave some update at the Wallumbilla meeting the other day. Is there an update with the Wallumbilla Bridge where it might be up to?
So through the chair, the update that I gave was that we were having a look at the Wallumbilla Bridge after we finished with Muggins Lanes Bridge. So we have received a quote for an inspection of the bridge, which we're just sitting on at the moment. We want to review the quote because it was extremely high. So that was the next stage of the process.
Once you get all that together, then you'll just bring a report back.
And we'll table that as one single report, yes.
Thank you.
So, on speaking to the Deputy Director, I believe that that there might be different ways of doing it. So this just really asks for that work to be able to be done. So I think it could be very beneficial for the people of that region that their first preference by a mile is to have a bridge open for many reasons, as we all know. Okay, do we have a question, Councillor McMullen?
May I throw you to Director Steve? The quote you've received, is that to restore it to maximum, or is that with a restricted weight?
So from the quote, it was a level 3 inspection and with testing of all the pairs and a full written report of what the load assessment will be from that report.
Oh, right, okay.
But I believe that's not the one. I think there's a more cost-effective way that it could be done to give council a high-level view of what's going on. So that's what this, I believe, would happen if this gets supported today. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? I'll speak. Yeah, this bridge is a major concern to people on the south side. They do miss it. There is some, even getting people out of that area, there is some issues there, and we've been able to find much more cost-effective ways of doing other challenges, and I believe that part of being fairly creative and doing what council officers do, I do believe that when we get the report back, there might give us some clarity about other options. Okay, on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. 8-0. Okay, L3, Darling Downs Southwest Waste Management Plan Update. I would like to move that so is that, have you got some wording?
Yeah, I actually did. Sorry, I just had some printing issues. Just through the chair, so that, what have you got there? You've got for the further plans review, supporting principle, the draft Darling Downs South West Council Regional Waste Management Plan, subject to a satisfactory briefing on the 29th of May 2023. To meet the deadline, to meet the submission deadline of 8th of June 2023.
And if it needs to, we can have a special meeting if we can't do it this way.
If not satisfied, yeah.
Afterwards.
Question.
Please go ahead.
Can we hear from either the Deputy Mayor or from our Director about this?
Yep. Well, we can hear from both if you'd like
Or
to.
both? Yep.
Okay, so, well, Director, did you want to say anything on this one?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, I suppose as incoming director, I've come in at the a bit more at the end of the process, but the Darling Downs and Southwestern Councils, ROC, have been, I suppose, liaising with one another for quite some time in terms of looking at this draft waste management strategy at a regional level. As you probably see in the report, effectively there are two distinct sub-regions. So you've got the Darling Downs and the Southwest. So the options that are being proposed in this report are pretty much broken up into those sub-regions, just given, one, the volumes of waste that are being generated and the options of how to deal with those waste streams in the future. Transportation costs obviously are a big thing going forward. But yeah, look, in general, a number of officers have sort of been involved with the various different workshops, and it's been a little bit ad hoc from our perspective just because of the resources, and our Deputy Mayor has been the representative from a councillor side of things. The comments on this, now this report or this draft has come up just to provide some feedback, which was due Monday, to then feed back into the draft, which will then be presented to the steering group for the waste management process, and then from there it'll be presented later in June to the Council of the Darling Downs Southwest Council of Mayors.
Okay, Councillor McMullen, did you?
Yeah, there's just a couple of things. The confusion, there's been a little bit of confusion right across the whole group just about some of the comments and the things placed in there. But what I'd like to point out is this plan was never ever meant and would never ever be a plan that will suit all councils, and that's why there's some things in there that are probably a bit discrepant, bit of discrepancy between different councils and that. But this plan was never, as I said, never set. When we knew it'd never ever fit one size fits all. Had the original contractor that was appointed by the steering committee not pulled out at the 11th hour when we're just before Christmas, this would have been up and done and dusted, no matter what the result was. After Christmas, we had to start again with a new contractor.
A consultant
pulling
the plan
together.
Oh, I see.
So they pulled out the 11th hour.
All right.
But yeah, as I said, it's never ever intended to be one size fits all. And I'd like to, and we as the Southwest Group, our Southwest Group, once this is finalised, we will go back to operating our own group again. We've just sort of sat back while this is being done, so we look after, well, not look after, but we work on our own area again, yeah. And
Because you've been on the rep going that way, though, haven't you?
only on the steering committee.
On the steering
Yes,
committee.
the steering committee, and I'll admit I did miss a couple through the other reasons, but
But the regional waste group is the Southwest one.
Our Southwest Regional waste group, but the other one is, what do they call themselves? I never remember the name, but
Darling
yeah.
Downs Southwest
We are
Regional.
Southwest Waste Groups, Gundawindi, Maranoa, Merway, Paru, Ballon, Bulu and Quilpie.
Oh, Gundy's come in the Southwest.
Yeah, they've been announced for a while. And since we formed our group, it's a little bit off track here, we've managed to get 750,000, one lot of funding to do our original tyre shredding of the illegal dump tyres. So we were just starting to look at other aspects. And on the back of that too, we've ended up with a contractor now setting up in Roma to...
And who's the host council that runs the secretariat and whatever for the Southwest Waste Group?
State Development.
Oh, State
It's run
Development. still
through,
doing
yeah,
it. Right.
they're.
So in your opinion, Councillor McMullen, do you think that this plan does work for the Maranoa? Like, I guess I know it's a big picture, but are you comfortable with the plan for the Maranoa out of this?
I had some discussion, I don't know what he's saying the wrong, but as Director said, he came in at the 11th hour, and I'm not, but there are things in there that, I know they've been written in there that look, how do you say, look like...
You're locking in things.
Locking things in. There's things there, but they won't really affect us, if you know what I mean, because it's just got to be, I don't know, it's just got to be broke. Once it's, well, assuming the mayors accepted all of, we'll then go back and, in my opinion, we'll pick out what we, Southwest Waste Group, want to do, yeah. Because it's not, it was mainly just put together, I believe, because I think the government requested it, and then a way of getting in the line for funding grants and that, yeah.
And then do we break it down to a Maranoa level then? You're saying that
Well-
the South West will pull what they want to do, but
Well,
there'll be
then
some
look-
nuances between
and
the
then-
South West Council.
You know, there's, a couple of us went to, as I've said before, went to Mergen to look at things.
Oh, yeah.
And there's, you know, opportunities there, you know, hopefully we could get a MRF here, but, I don't want to say anything against the other councils, but I think we're the most,
Proactive.
well, not some, but most centralised.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and-
situated.
but
Yeah.
in the plan, it's mentioned, there were some concerns, not just here, but not just not having a go at the money, but other people were concerned about the fact Merway got a mention in the Charleville got a mention in the plan. We deliberated here for a couple, probably an hour over it. The way I understand it, the idea of that was for the smaller councils to funnel their, in the future this will be, funnel their waste stream to Merway, and because that's the head of the rail. And then, you know, assuming we get it on the rail eventually, so it's just, as I said, the one size doesn't fit all, you know,
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I mean-
look, and you don't mind if I add
No,
on to
go
that?
for it,
So,
go for it,
I
yeah.
think from an officer perspective, and having reviewed that draft, I appreciate the
Yeah.
comments of the Deputy Mayor. So, but from an officer perspective, in the comments that I'd provided in the feedback for the spreadsheet at the end, I just noted that both our regions are covered by regional plans, state regional plans. They're 2009, both of them, and they are old, but they're still the current regional plans. And there's a hierarchy of centres in the regional plan structure. So as part of that process, I've just noted in the feedback, and I appreciate the comments from the Deputy Mayor, but from an officer perspective, I've just identified that I just thought perhaps that the plan should refer to the centre hierarchy and not necessarily name localities or centres as such. So for your information, both Charleville and Roma are what we call a major rural activity centre under the two respective regional plans. And I just thought, just to provide that, not being parochial, but just to provide that option going forward in terms of location of MRFs. I mean, Roma, out of the two centres, is the larger population centre. The volumes that are generated from Maranoa in terms of waste streams is probably all the Western councils west of us added together. But it may very well be that there would be a sorting facility both at Charleville as an activity, major rural activity centre, and also one here in Roma. So from an officer perspective, I've just picked that up and put that in those comments. Now, at the end of the day, if the council's uncomfortable with those, we can take them out. But I have changed the wording to what we discussed previously. So I just for that information, just to provide that context from where I was coming from in terms of the comments that are informing the report today. So,
Councillor McMullen.
And I'd like to thank the director for bringing that plan forward because, 7 years I've been here now, and I've never ever, and I know it's there, but I never ever knew we were in combined waste management plan with Ballon. And it's, what'd you say, 2000?
sorry, it's a state regional plan, not
plan
waste
with
plan,
Ballon,
but it's
but
a
state regional plan
plan.
with Ballon, it's never, it's been since 2009, I think you said.
Yeah, so
And
just
that
the context for that is after the mergers, I think the state was looking at its regional planning framework and it's rolled that out since the mergers. This region was one of the first areas to be rolled out with their state regional plan, so it provides the broader planning framework for these regions. Now, there was some disagreement between, I'm not sure which councils, but they decided to go with Maranoa and Ballon, and then the balance was the southwest councils, Merway and the other three, or other two or three. So that's where that's come from. But at the end of the day, you could probably put the two together and say, yep, that's the the broader region.
But they did a refresher on those plans in about between 12 and
But 214.
15
Yeah.
because of the change of government. And then when the subsequent change of government happened in 2015, they've gone. They've sat on the shelf. They still exist, but we haven't missed anything, Councillor McMullen, because no one's using it.
In that document, I can't remember it where, but it makes reference to Maranoa 2000 and, what do we have the last, I should have, when we,
Is it 2014, the last strategy? That
no,
we-
yeah, there was something in about 2020, was it? Or I think now that we'd set something in 2020, which wasn't the policy, but
The
yeah.
survey was referred to,
Yeah.
was undertaken
Oh,
in
that's the
2022.
that's the Lanigan, I think, survey that
Yeah.
and that I think was more about just aspirations, and I think they picked up about the community here wanting to pursue recycling options and all that sort of stuff. But that's all that was included that the consultants picked up, but they didn't pick up the fact that we did have a waste management strategy in 2015, which has been adopted, but it probably, unfortunately, hasn't really gone anywhere over the recent years.
No, it hasn't.
Probably one thing that the director picked up and I agreed with was they put us in there as wrong as Maranoa is not in the waste levy, but we are in the waste levy.
Oh, right, okay. So that's important.
So if we don't have it in the document, are we not?
Wouldn't that be nice?
I suppose for the, oh, sorry.
No, you go.
Just for the purposes of the amended item 2, I'm a little bit with respect to the dates there. So our feedback was due back this week.
Oh, okay.
So
That's what
through the chair, that was just around the potential, if council wanted more discussion in relation to the strategy, given the fact that we've got a single representative and then you've got the final draft here, it's pretty big, and recognising that council can craft a recommendation in such a way that says, look, we in principle support this, but we do want to discuss it further, but we're not going to hold up the deadline. We're going to move it into that. If you want to bring that date forward because you've got a forward date, it's just a case of 29th of May is next Monday, and the Council of Mayors is the 8th of June, so if it needs to be earlier than that, or
it's got to go back to the steering
1st of
committee
June,
first.
I'm happy with that. It's just that I knew those two dates because we'd already had things.
We may
locked in.
miss the cut-off of feedback was this week.
Yep.
The consultants will be going back with any feedback received from the participant councils to finalise this draft plan so that they can then take it back to the steering group and the Council of Mayors. So if we leave it any later, at the end of the day, probably the comments here are, we could probably put these forward as they are.
The comments are due
because
on the last page.
Yeah, so that they were due this week. It was probably more, there's nothing, I don't think the comments that have been picked up in that register are anything that's going to materially change the direction of that report at the end of the day, but it'd be good just to get some corrections in the final draft.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask the director, Seamus, Director Seamus, was fairly heavily involved. Have you had any discussions with him about it, or he was within the meetings? Once again, not having a go because, you said, you've come in on the tail end of it, but he was in most of the meetings as we went through.
Yeah, look, Seamus and I had discussed it. I know he's probably listening in, but he's probably pop in.
Appearing in person.
Oh, speak of the devil. Good. Yeah. What's your thought? I'm not, once again, not having a go at anyone, but just...
what I was talking to Leo about was that because this is really a strategic document, it really is the place of councillors to kind of give us advice on this. It's not really an operational document. So you should, I think in this case, Deputy Mayor, you should feel free to give Leo your comments and direction in this regard.
And just through the chair, what the director is actually saying is, look, we do actually have a deadline that's earlier than the 8th of June, and it's just a case of the way I'm reading the recommendation as it stands is that you actually are supporting the draft, but you also recognise you're going to have further discussion. There is the potential to submit all of that stuff now or after today if council votes it up. It's just a case of recognising that council may want to discuss it further, and if so, if there's additional comments that to be added to the register, is we could put some extra wording in there if we had to.
Yeah, look, I think the register needs to go sooner than later, and it might be that if council wish to have a further in-depth or other discussions around the plan proper, then that could happen on the briefing, and then the Deputy Mayor could take that, anything else further forward at the next steering group.
We'll hear from Councillor Hancock and then I'll explain what, Councillor Hancock.
Number one, I'd absolutely appreciate a briefing. This is a huge document. I have no background in waste. I would love a briefing on this. And have we've put money into this, haven't we? No. We haven't put any.
It's all funded. My understanding is it was all funded by the
Okay.
government, yeah.
So when you say a briefing, are you, who's to give that briefing to us, Mr Mayor? Is it?
Well, anyway, so my suggestion is I wouldn't be in favour of 3, but 1 and 2, basically do that. Next Monday, we've been dialed in for some budget. We could have the briefing then. If we need to change some things, just have a special meeting afterwards, and then that's council's position. That's it. And we got Darling Down Southwest. Is it being brought up at the? So we'll get that feedback on Thursday and Friday. So we'll have that feedback for Monday. So it'll actually be a good time. And then after Monday, then we could send it on to the steering committee. When is the steering committee meeting?
I got it here, I'll tell you.
I think it's, was it the 2nd of June?
Yeah, so it would be right for that. And Councillor Guthrie.
Mr Mayor, I hope this helps, because what I used when I read this document was the actual councillor update, the PowerPoint that we received. They had a meeting back on 19th of April and they sent all the information out. And it's actually really helpful to then read this with the context of the summary that they talked through at that last meeting. That might be something that helps and may preclude the need for a briefing. It's pretty explanatory. Yeah.
But if we're
And
going
we
to be
received
here,
that.
you also have the benefit, if we're here Monday, next Monday, you also have the benefit of actually getting the feedback from Southwest Rock tomorrow. Tomorrow. Thursday. So we'll have it from Monday. So you'll have that feedback from one half of it to be able to make a decision on Monday.
Mr Mayor, the Southwest Rock meeting, when did you say that is?
Thursday.
Tomorrow.
So, okay.
So therefore, we'll have a bit of feedback from them, as well as we can nut out maybe the points of difference or whatever, and then we can even have a special meeting in the afternoon on Monday, and then that's our position. Or you can go in principle support it here, but you don't make a decision.
Can we take out the word satisfactory briefing? That's like, aren't we just having a briefing?
Yep, certainly.
Like that, all briefings should be satisfactory.
Look, essentially what I was trying to capture there was just that, that you had consensus around the draft document, because again, the potential that you mightn't have, and then you might have wanted to make another decision. But look, there's a couple of key things. It needs to be submitted by a date.
We're taking it satisfactory.
Yep, subject to a
Support
briefing.
in principle is subject to that satisfactory briefing.
That's what.
But
That's
what's a
why it's in
satisfactory briefing?
Well, that we're happy with it because the mayor's saying that, if we're giving in principle today and
Who deems what a satisfactory briefing is?
No, that's what I was actually thinking originally. We just have a quick special meeting after we've had the briefing, and then we can.
So don't give in principle support.
Well, I think if we do it all Monday and it's done, then.
Undertake a briefing on Monday the 29th
of May.
23 on the draft Darling Downs, blah, 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 and get rid of in principle then.
And then just submit to the steering committee by the 1st of June, which means that overnight you can, or by the 30th of May, so that you can get it to that steering committee pretty quickly.
Does that work from your side of it, Councillor McMullen? Or?
The steering committee is on?
2nd of June.
Yes, in June, isn't it?
And does that work with you too, Director? If we put our comments with your comments and then put it through on Monday?
Look, it's a bit difficult to comment. I'm assuming that SLR, the consultants, have already commenced reviewing and rejigging any comments that they've received from the participating councils. They were due Monday, just gone.
Well, due this
22nd.
Monday, so we'll be a week late.
We are late, yeah.
So your comments at the back won't be included until we pass this today?
And that's
correct.
And I think it may be too late anyway. Is that what you're saying?
I think I would think that SLR are on a fairly tight timeframes to get this document ready for the Councillor Mayor's steering committee and then to the Councillor Mayor's proper.
Can we lay this on the table and see if we can make contact with these people to see.
And actually see if we can get an
When-
extension.
It covers it though, doesn't it? By having number one, note the comments in the feedback register for further consideration by the plans team. If that's moved today, those
Yep.
They can go.
comments are going.
Yeah. And then,
Well, instead we say agree, can we say, instead of note, can we agree to
But I
the
don't
comments?
think there's going to be wholesale changes. There's going to
No,
be
I
little
don't
tiny
anticipate.
tweaks that
Yeah.
they're going to do. So-
But if we send half it today and then say at the briefing on Monday, we come up with another 10 comments,
Well,
they're
it
going to
might
miss
be
the boat.
Take a few things out that
Yep.
shouldn't be in there, or put them in, whatever,
Yes.
but
Yes.
I don't think it'll be.
Yes.
And I think the council of mayors are discussing it tomorrow, so there's still got to be some tweaking afterwards.
So number two would be undertake a briefing on the
Yep.
29th of May to meet the submission deadline of 8th of June. Hold a special meeting.
the only thing is the deadline was actually, what was it, the?
22nd of May.
22nd of May. Just maybe to undertake a briefing on the 29th of May 2023 with the intention to submit final feedback on the 1st of June or something
And
like that.
that 8th of June, needs to be pulled back for the
Yep.
steering committee, so
Yep.
it needs to be.
Is there a way we can word number one to say that
Undertake a briefing on the 29th of May and a subsequent special meeting.
Yeah, that's right.
Because then you're telling us we're having a special meeting, so you
Yes.
don't have to send out another note.
Yeah, exactly.
And put that subject deadline of the 2nd of June, because that's when the steering committee, but we'll have it done on Monday, so it can be sent off.
Mr Mayor, the council of mayors the 19th of June, isn't it?
Yeah, but you've got a steering committee.
Steering
meeting
committee, yeah,
On
yeah.
the 2nd, so we may as well put the 2nd of June.
Yep.
Right, because, we need to let them get on with it, but I think it'll be tiny tweaks, but it just,
do we have to meet the submission deadline? Because we've missed that. Why don't we just say what the CEO said to then submit our final comments?
Thanks.
Why is the 8th of June in there if the submission deadline's earlier than that?
We're taking that out.
That was the only date I knew.
Oh,
Because I knew the Council of Mayors meeting, so I thought it was just going directly into there, wasn't realising it was going into the steering group and then the Council of Mayors. So that
So is it
was-
so
just
we've got to get
comment?
rid of with the intention to meet the submission deadline then?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that doesn't exist.
To submit final comments.
For the final draft document, as Kel's got the end there or something.
Yeah.
Final comments.
By the 2nd of June or something like that, or earlier, yeah.
yeah, by the 2nd of June, but it'll be on Monday, I'm sure, the
Do we
rep
have
will
to-
get it off
Yep.
after Monday.
And then everybody understands what you're looking at.
Because this way, you might get a little bit of feedback out of the council of mayors too, that comes back.
Yeah, because it,
Out of South West
Can
Roma.
could we change number one that we agree to,
would submit the comments.
basically I want to submit the comments that have been presented to us today.
Agree and submit the comments in the feedback register for further consideration by the plans review team. Agree and submit.
Agree with the initial feedback, agree to submitting the initial feedback, because then we're going into final feedback.
yeah.
This is number point two. So agree to submit the initial feedback, register.
But it might change, so if it's only till next Monday, why don't we just,
Because we're already a week late.
yeah, but I think most of it's gonna be the same, it's gonna be little tiny tweaks, so.
Do we have a problem with any of the feedback that the officer has given us today to consider?
Well, I think we're gonna go through it on Monday and just go through and we'll all understand it, so it might be better just to maybe nearly get rid of one and just have two. And then we'll have it on Monday, but I don't think anyone's talking about wholesale changes, so they're gonna have
But
pretty
can we
much.
communicate with the people to say what we're doing? So
To give you an idea, it's coming to South West Rock tomorrow, right? To be looked at, and there might be changes out of that. So what I'm saying, there's.
just as long as they know, like,
Yeah.
just be polite.
I'm sure the director would pass on what council's doing, yeah.
And the final document will have to come back for us.
Well, that's what we're gonna do on
Agree.
Monday afternoon.
Absolutely.
No,
There'll be a
the
full
actual
circle.
final
There's a
ones,
yeah.
all the
Once
stuff
it
been
goes
put
up
in.
through the meeting of mayors.
There's also that final opportunity at the Council of Mayors for each council, each mayor to talk to the document or change the document. It's got to be ratified ultimately. So, There's still time, but, okay, so we
So I'd get rid of one and then put two, and we can have something in there. Two is just what I would like to move, but then in brackets, if you want to, after it, update the, I don't know, the consultant on the council's feedback, council's deadline of Monday, next Monday, that we're gonna have our position. Okay, I'm gonna move that, I'm actually gonna move one is undertake a briefing on the 29th of May and hold a subsequent special meeting on that same day to submit final, draft or final, what is it called? Final
comments and endorsement.
and comments and endorsement. Endorsement.
Yeah, in response to.
But there's a comments register and a draft strategy.
Right. Comments
That makes sense.
and endorsement in response to the draft Darling Downs and South West Council Regional Waste Management Plan, and advise the consultant of council's intention for
To finalise.
to finalise our position next Monday, or, whatever the date is.
Monday the 29th.
29th. Okay, do we have a seconder for that motion?
Is it our
Councillor Burkett.
Is it our position? Is that what we're finalising, or is it just to submit our final comments and endorsements?
Oh, it's the whole lot. We're gonna approve what we want in our part of it, and you'll get also the feedback from the Southwest Rock by then as well, which will be good for council to make the decision. Okay, does anyone wish to speak to it or against it? We're gonna go to the vote. All those in favour?
Sorry, Mr Mayor, who was this?
Yes.
Councillor Burkett.
Yes.
Okay, that's 8-0. Okay, morning tea. We'll be back in half an hour. Okay, so we'll keep going with the meeting. I move that we change the order of business and deal with C6 as the next order of business. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Hancock, all those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so do we have someone to go into closed?
Yes, but do we have
We
the
might
wording?
have to get some wording up there.
Oh, I've got it. I've got it. I've got some.
Yeah, you got to list all the...
It's not on screen, Cal? On this screen.
Sorry, no, I've got on my screen, we're in a different meeting.
All right. So are we just doing this
Yeah,
one and then we'll go back out? I move that in accordance with the provisions of section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, a local government may resolve to close a meeting to the public to discuss confidential items that its councillors or members consider it necessary to close the meeting. We're discussing item C6, draft revenue statement 23-24.
Okay, we have a seconder. Councillor Burkett, all those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, 8-0. So we C6 draft revenue statements 23-24. I'd like to move that Council 1 endorse the draft revenue statement 23-24 as presented for inclusion as part of the 23-24 budget papers to be adopted at Council's special meeting in June 2023. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett, any opposition?
You missed, should say for the public special budget meeting.
All right.
I think you missed the word budget.
Righto, thank you. that Council, one, endorse the draft revenue statement 23-24 as presented for inclusion as part of the 2023-24 budget papers to be adopted at Council's special budget meeting in June 2023. Okay, is the seconder happy with that?
Yes.
Righto. Any opposition? Does the mover wish to speak to the motion? I believe this is a really responsible another step, moving to actually doing our budget on time, which I'm very glad about, and we'll keep working through the methodical process. Does someone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Hancock.
Yes, thanks. I won't be supporting this draft revenue statement to go forward with the council's budget papers. I don't think that this is giving opportunity to progress our community. When I look over the papers and I see that there's categories that are actually in the negative, I see that is we're going backwards and we're not actually going forwards and progressing our community, so I can't support the revenue statement going forward as consideration for the budget papers.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak for the motion or against the motion?
I'd like to speak against the motion.
Please go ahead.
I too can't vote for this to go forward to the next stage of the budget. There's only one rating scenario we're going with. And again, we're just marking time with as far as that goes. I really just don't feel confident with this at all, so I will be voting for it.
Okay, does someone wish to speak for the motion or against the motion? Councillor O'Neill.
I won't be supporting the resolution today for largely the same reasons that Councillor Taylor has just articulated. There's only one rating scenario that has been presented, and I don't think it's given us the opportunity to look at what the best outcome will be for the long term of our community, and therefore I won't be supporting this resolution.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? I will sum up and just like to say that whilst this is a draft moving forward, I think it's very important to give the community clarity and deliver a budget on time. And I really believe it will be supporting our community members, our businesses, and there's a lot of great relief in this budget for helping through the Maranoa through some very tough times that we're encountering. So on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
All those against?
Against.
For all, and I'll vote for this, so it'll be 5-4. If I can call for a division. Okay, so we're going to move on back into open. We've got a meeting without...
Mr Mayor, I think the CEO, or someone's going to add something to the agenda before.
Yep, that's right.
Sure, won't be a second. I'm just capturing that because you just had a division.
We are in open.
Anyone, because these are just on mine. I thought it was just, does everyone have a look at these?
Okay.
Yeah, I can't see anything.
Apologies, sorry, it won't be a
We've
second.
also got a
Councillors,
conflict of
I'm
interest.
just trying to send you the information so that you have it. I'm just tidying it up. Okay.
Any conflicts? Well,
Yeah, we can. That's a good idea. Okay. Councillor Edwards, do you have that on the screen?
I do.
Please go ahead.
This is the declaration, you mean?
Yeah.
What you're talking about? Yeah, okay. I'd like to declare a declaration of interest. Item description is C7. Item is C7. Description legal advice planning application. Yep. Declaring councillor Mark Edwards, person with the interest, myself, application by the company that we can do proprietary limited. I provided a written submission, which was provided a written submission and objection to the original application. Type of conflict, declarable conflict of interest. action, leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on. Declaration of interest, item C8, description scholarship program for medical students. Declaring Councillor Mark Edwards, person with the interest, myself and Leichhardt Group. Sorry, could you just go back up again, please? Wait a minute. Related party. Yeah, should be down there as well, I think. Yeah. Related party be myself and Leichhardt Group. Particulars of interest, I and the Leichhardt Group have a professional relationship with the person named in the report who I can't reveal for professional reasons, and out of caution I've declared my interest. Type of conflict, declarable conflict of interest. Action, although I have a declarable conflict of interest, do not believe a reasonable person could have a perception of bias. Therefore, I will choose to remain in the meeting. However, I will respect the decision of the meeting on whether I can remain and participate in the decision.
Okay, so we could deal with that one now. Does anybody have any wording?
Can you scroll down for a minute, please, Cal? Oh, sorry, up.
We have the sheet with the wording.
It's on the screen.
It's on the screen
Thank you.
there. On the,
Councillor
I'll
McMullen.
move, Mr Mayor, that it is in the public's interest that Councillor Edwards participates and votes on agenda item C8 because a reasonable person would trust that the decision is made in the public interest.
We have a seconder, Councillor Guthrie. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
All those against? Councillor O'Neill, were you in favour?
I'm abstaining.
Okay. So that means that it was 6-1. If I can call for a division. Be right.
And number one was,
6-1, yeah,
and
that's right.
that was,
Councillor Ladbrokes not there.
Councillor O'Neill abstaining.
And Councillor Edwards has to abstain, so that's right. Okay, right, now, other conflicts. I could do a conflict on C7 while we got it up there. I've already done it before anyway, and it's been the same item, isn't it? It's the same item.
Look, I just...
It's any
the-
different?
Yeah, the only difference I would say is that the description of the report isn't as clear. So it could be worth just making the declaration.
Righto. So C7, legal advice planning application, declaring council as Councillor Golder, person with the interest, related party, close associate, other relationship is myself. Particulars of interest, I have been involved in a court case in regards to opposing weekend do original application, original approval in regards to environmental dangers, and because of this, I have it as a type of conflicts, declarable conflict of interest, and I will leave the room while the matter is discussed and voted on. Any other conflicts, councillors? Righto, then we can get on to, do we have someone to move?
We've got
Right?
Yep. And apologies, councillors, thanks for your attention. It is just, I think I've given you a copy of that report, sorry. It's just in relation to the water upgrade at the airport precinct. We've got a development underway, we've got a current project. And the councillor notice of motion is just to find source some additional funds to put to that project, just to make sure that we have enough money on hand to complete everything. We have had we've already got a current work order open on the project. Anyway,
So I'll
yes,
move that.
Can I just ask
it's an
a
item
question?
without notice.
I am confused because you just foreshadowed, CEO, that you had a matter to put on the agenda and the mayor is now going to be the person putting it on. So is this a
Yeah.
councillor report that the mayor's authored, or is this a report that you've generated for us?
It is a councillor notice of motion. My apologies, I wasn't clear. I was reading and thinking at the same time. It's a councillor notice of motion in relation to the need for additional monies in relation to a project that's currently underway.
Yeah, so I'm happy to do it anyway because I'm very. Anyway, we'll talk about that in the debate. So the councillor notice of motion is that a item be put on the agenda without notice of additional funding for a water upgrade project at the airport precinct. We have a seconder, councillor McMullen. All those in favour?
Question, sorry.
Please go ahead.
Like, I have a problem with putting it on the agenda, but I do want to make sure we're on the thing. If something's come under budget, isn't that operational, and shouldn't this be the CEO's report?
I can't actually raise an item without notice.
Yes, you can.
I'm actually confused why the mayor is putting on an operational request.
Obviously, you people haven't had any phone calls.
No, I get.
No, we
it's
understand
It's the
why.
process.
It's the process of who, like, I don't, the understanding of the process.
The mayor's agreed to put it up, but it is an operational issue.
That's right.
But the mayor's agreed to put it up on the basis that it's it's an item without notice, and it is not on the agenda currently, and you haven't had time to consider it.
But we have had in the past many times where staff have put late reports to council on the day of a council meeting. So that's why I'm just a bit confused.
Look,
because the mayor,
and
in fairness, the mayor hasn't authored this.
Yep. He's also he knows the content, right? So the reality is, as a late, it's really too late. I understand that we have put up lates before, but I think during the middle of a meeting, that wouldn't, to my mind, be supported for a late. So
maybe
simply,
that's the issue,
it's
'cause
the
we did in the past,
request
but we're
between
not
the
doing it
conversation.
now. So we do notice of motion.
Yeah.
No, the issue is just understanding who
I understand
who actually wrote the report. Who is the author of the report? You got to understand that.
And it's an operational matter, so it would have normally been the CEO.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
the
If
mayor
we're
doesn't have
talking about this
remit over-
yesterday.
And the point that councillor McMullen made is, yes, the mayor or a councillor can put up any notice of motion, but it's very operational. So that's where it's a bit confusing.
Yeah, it's timing, really.
Okay, so we've got that on there. We've got it on the screen. Cal, have we? Yep. So we've got moved and seconded. All those in favour of putting it on the agenda? Councillor Burkett?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Yep. And
Yeah.
Councillor Taylor? So that means it's 8-0. Okay, so now it's on the agenda.
And it's a closed item.
And it's a closed item.
Yep.
Okay, so what is it going to be called? LC4. Okay, can I have the pen
Yeah.
there, please?
Sorry.
Pen.
Oh, sorry.
Cheers. LC4. Yep, okay. So then we can, we've done conflicts, now we can go into, someone would like to move into closed. Councillor McMullen.
Mayor, I'll move we go into closed.
Got to do the other items too, yeah. We've got to go through the other.
Yeah, I know.
items, Yeah.
I'm just going to explain. In accordance with the provisions of section 254J3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the council resolved to close the meeting to the public to discuss confidential items that its councillors consider as necessary to close the meeting. In accordance with section 254J5 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the following table provides the matters to be discussed an overview of what is to be discussed while the meeting is closed. Agenda C1, Roma Flood Mitigation Project, Stage 2 update. C2, Roma Airport Cost Recovery. C3, Roma Airport Car Park Operational Model. C4, write-off amounts accounts receivable. C5, rates and utilities write-off natural gas accounts. C7, legal advice planning application. C8, scholarship program for medical students. LC1, Injune Museum concept design phase. LC2, Mitchell Swimming Pool tender evaluation. LC3, Swerdna Downs Road Resheet project. LC4, additional funding for water upgrade project at the airport precinct.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
I got
I'll
all those,
second.
didn't I?
Oh, you
No, that's right, I got the lot.
got it. I'll second that. Any opposition? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
8-0. C1, Roma Flood Mitigation Project RFMP Stage 2 update. I would like to move that Council, 1, receive and note the report by way of update on Building Our Region's Roma Flood Mitigation Stage 2 project. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer or Delegate A to sign project variation form which proposes to replace the eastern levy with the detailed design of the Eastern Diversion Channel extension. And B, to enter into final negotiations under section 236 of the local government regulation with GHD Pty Ltd to deliver the detailed design of the Eastern Diversion Channel extension. C, commence discussion with residents within the footprint of the Eastern Diversion Channel extension and develop a design that helps retain as much of the existing land use as possible. Do we have a seconder? Councillor McMullen. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Councillor Edwards?
Councillor Edwards, are you in favour or against?
Yes, I think that was a very quiet.
Yeah, it
little
sounded like a
wasn't
yes, but
Was that a yes, Councillor Edwards?
Yeah.
Okay. Righto, it was a bit muffled, didn't really come through. Okay, moving on to C2,
Page 17.
page 17, Roma Airport cost recovery. I would like to move that no further action be completed on this item.
I'll second that.
We've got a second, Councillor O'Neill. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak to it? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, 8-0. Okay, page 22. C3, Roma Airport Public Car Park Operational Model. I would like to move that Council endorse the removal of all car park boom gates and associated equipment from the airport car park. 2, authorise the removal of hourly and daily car parking charges from the fees and charges. 3, authorise the creation of $1,080, including of GST, annual permit fee per vehicle for large corporate airport users to utilise the airport car park to airport fees and charges from the 1st of July 2023. 4, assign revenue to GL 1511.1039.1003, airport operating revenue, car parking fees and charges, commercial fees and charges.
Mr Mayor, can I suggest an amendment?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Should we be notifying these large companies in advance?
Yeah, whatever.
No, I don't know how you'd word it, but no, like we've got a couple of big users there that.
Righto. I think part of the managers, they've already consulted, but I'm happy to put that in there if you'd like to.
Yeah, well, something like just along that line.
Put 5 in there. Councillor Guthrie, did you have any wording on
I
that?
just have a question,
Righto.
so I'm happy to let you do that one then.
Righto. So 5, consult with the
Notify, Mr Mayor, probably notify.
notify.
Of council's intent, I don't know.
Yeah. Notify
The major users.
major users
Of councils.
Of the changes.
of the
Because
changes.
we're changing the system.
Righto.
Seconded on that, Mr.
Righto. So that is the motion then. Councillor Guthrie.
My question was going to be in number 3, the permit fee per vehicle. Is that per vehicle or per vehicle space, given the fact that that would be, this one here as it reads would be specifying the registration plate of a vehicle to park there, or is that a vehicle space for the company?
Look,
So that there's a bit of interchange, if you know where I'm going with that.
yes, through the chair, I think currently the logic is that the corporates would reimburse individuals with cars on those fees as part of their standard administrative practice, and that to offer or to start the negotiation at a per car fee at a fixed rate for the year would be advantageous to the corporate rather than just sticking to the actual car park. But lovely to see
Okay, we
you.
have the manager of airports here.
You must have been listening in.
Through the chair, we looked at the option of paying or charging per vehicle space for the company, but my concern is it'd be very difficult to enforce, with some companies parking in more spots than they're allocated. I think it's just easier to go by vehicle.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, well done, well said.
I'll speak to this. I believe this is going to be a. Please go ahead, Councillor Taylor.
Well, just quickly while you've got the manager there, wasn't it a case of a company buying, say, 20, and that way they could be interchanged with different vehicles, like 2 on, 2 off or something? I thought my understanding was, you might purchase 20 car spaces for the year, not 20 cars. Was that not how we intended it?
Through the chair, that's what I considered after our discussion. But again, I just found that it would be very difficult to enforce, having 20 spots, but 24 of a certain company's cars turn up and then park in other people's spots. And I think we'll have a lot of issues dealing with that in the future.
But they'd have to have a pass of some sort. Like they'd have to just have 20 passes.
They would, but if they were allocated a particular spot, you'll end up getting people parking in other spots that they shouldn't be parking in, that are marked for a different company.
I'm not saying they had to have spots. I'm just saying, I've got 20 permits to give out to my staff. Doesn't matter where they park.
Well, that's what'll happen, right?
But I think that if there's a big influx, like a bigger project, and they happen to have 30 vehicles that week, it makes it hard in that way, doesn't it?
I think that's correct. I think it's just a lot easier to enforce if we just charge per vehicle.
Yeah.
I actually disagree. I mean, I just didn't think that was the way our conversation went.
So, Mayor, can I get the concerns around the car spacing, that's problematic, right? But if people were to buy an annual pass and it's a physical pass that's displayed on their vehicle or inside their vehicle, within the company, that could be interchanged between different vehicles rather than the number plate.
That is a possibility.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They could just have 20 passes, whatever vehicle they put it in, and they don't have to have an allocation of where they have to park.
What about if they're in 2 different, like say you got 20 at one plant and 20 at another, and they haven't got their passes with them, sort of thing.
They do it now when they change over with keys and whatever. So they do manage to change keys to the next person so they can take that vehicle and whatever. So they could do that with a pass.
And through the chair, the report's framed in such a way that this is the most advantageous for council as opposed to.
That's correct, yeah. From a operational and revenue perspective, this would be the best solution. I'm certainly not against that option as well. But our best solution would be as I've proposed.
Well, it doesn't have to be about the money though, does it? Like,
Well, the money's the same, isn't it? Whether they, oh no, because
No, you mean the whole project.
So you could give them 30 or 40.
You'd probably find, through the chair, you'd have less vehicles or less passes, so the revenue would be a lot less. Yeah, probably, you're talking about a third less or 2/3 less.
Because they can interchange the passes.
That's right.
Yeah.
So maybe, and I'm sure you're doing that all the time, is get the feedback and see how it goes, and you can bring something back to council if it's not working or it's onerous or whatever, but...
It's not like a concrete post in the ground, are we?
No. Yeah. Righto. Okay, well, I'm going to speak to the motion. I believe we probably will be seeing more revenue out of this, better service for everyone involved at the airport, and save financially on fairly onerous maintenance upgrades. We know that we were briefed that there needs to be a major upgrade because of technology and a lot of things to do with the car park. So this hopefully will work for all stakeholders, and I'll be looking forward to, if it's not working, that there's some tweaking happening. But of course, what it does for our local people, that they can park at the airport without any charge. So looking forward to being able to deliver that and increase our friendliness as our brand in the Maranoa. Does anyone else wish to speak against the motion or for the motion? Does anyone wish to speak? Then we're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
yes.
Okay, that's 8-0 then. Thank you.
Thanks, Daniel.
C4, write-off amounts, accounts receivable. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that council approve the write-off of sundry debtor account debts for the total amount of $2,221.38, owing to the current status of being irrecoverable, to pursue further recovery action.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
Julie, put a hand up.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Guthrie. Councillor Guthrie, is there anybody that wishes to speak to the motion? No one wishes to speak. We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Writing them off.
Yes.
As per, yeah.
Yes.
All those against? 7-1 if I can call for a division. C6, or is it
C5.
C5.
Yeah,
Yeah,
page
there was 2 of them.
34.
34, thank you. C5, rates and utilities, write-offs, natural gas accounts. Do we have a mover? Councillor McMullen.
Mr Mayor, I'll move that council approve the write-off of natural gas account debts for the total amount of $15,236.63.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett. Do we have anyone that wishes to speak to the motion?
Mr Mayor,
Yep.
I'd just like to say, while this is a significant amount of money, with the number of actual debtors, it's not viable to pursue them on an individual basis.
Righto. Okay, anyone else wish to speak? Okay, Councillor O'Neill.
Look, I understand the resolution. I just can't support it. whilst, you know, in the scheme of things, it's not the largest amount of money that council deal with, but it's $15,236.63 that will be borne by the broader rate base, because we've got some people in our community that aren't paying the debts for in this case, you know, goods that they've received. So I'll be voting against it.
Okay, well, I'll speak for the motion. I certainly understand the frustration about having to write off bad debts. I do know, to do with natural gas, there is regulators that are involved, which in the past have made it more difficult rather than just being able to go and do things. The other issue too is that our staff have actually said that these are ones that, you know, there is no other way to go with that. We also have found that sometimes you start spending money, we're wasting ratepayers' money trying to chase dead debts. I also have been told that all of the people involved or whatever have been banned or not allowed to be able to be anything new. And I do think we need to act like a business and actually be prudent with wasting more money after bad money. Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Hancock.
Mr Mayor, yeah, it is frustrating to have to write off these debts. The reason why I can't support this one is because there's a few debts in here that are of quite substantial amount of money. So there are some smaller ones, but there are some with substantial amount of money, and I just think that for those ones that are more substantial amount of money, we probably could try another way. I am all for in favour of having to write off smaller debts because it just costs too much to council to recover them, but not for some of these higher ones. So that's why I can't support it.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Does the move wish to sum up?
Mr Mayor, I'd just like to say, you know, I've heard everyone's comments, which are fair enough. As I said earlier, there are a lot of individual debts here, the smaller ones, and I note there, as Councillor Hancock said, there are some larger amounts, but we've got in our paperwork, they can't find them, there's no forwarding addresses, all sorts of different reasons. You know, they've left the address, can't find them and all that, so it would cost a lot of money to try and find, with no guarantee of finding them, I suppose what I should be trying to say. Yeah.
Okay, on that note, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
All those against? 6-2 if I can call for a division. Was C7 done?
Yes.
Yeah.
C6 was done.
C6?
Was done.
Page 137 is the next one, Mr Mayor.
Righto, well, I'm out of the room for that one.
Don't go too far, Mr Mayor.
Mark's.
I'm out of the room.
You're out of the room.
Yeah, give us no more than 5 minutes, hopefully. Yeah, sure.
Your limp's not getting any better.
Okay, the Mayor's left the room and Councillor Edwards has left online. C7, subject heading Legal Advice Planning Application. Councillor O'Neill.
I'll move that council receive and note the officer's report as presented.
Second, Councillor Hancock. Anyone wish to speak for the motion or against the motion? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
7-0.
Is that, it's 6-0?
Oh, 6. Sorry.
That's all right, just double
Yeah,
checking.
that's right.
Yeah, because Councillor Ladbrokes.
Yeah.
Gonna get onto the big file. You right, Jeff? Where did this one go?
just have to get councillor,
Yeah, I just texted him.
did you? We'll just wait for him. We'll just break for a second. We'll be back in a minute. Okay, we're back. C8, Scholarship Program for Medical Students. I would like to move that that council, receive and note the report by way of following up and actioning of council resolution OM/03.2022/67. 2, investigate development of a medical bursary policy which incorporates 1, grow your own Maranoa bursary, 1, medical intern retention bursary, 3, bursaries for local nurses, either midwifery or nurse practitioners. 3, consider a funding contribution of $70,000 in the draft 2023-24 budget. 4, be provided a future report at an upcoming council meeting or briefing. Okay, do we have a seconder?
Mr Mayor, I'm happy to second that. I just, that 3 bursaries for local nurses, and then we've got either midwifery or nurse, it reads that,
Should be for either midwifery
Yeah.
or nurse practitioner.
yeah, like it
Oh,
doesn't quite
4
read.
either.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I see, yeah,
Yeah.
either or,
For well, it's really for local nurses
midwifery.
to study for either midwifery or nurse practitioner. It's not, they're not local, if that reads like that, it
Yep.
looks like that it's local nurses who are already midwifery and nurse practitioners. We're giving bursary, but it's
Yep.
actually for,
Yeah.
to,
Attain
word?
attain the
Upgrade.
For
high,
local
attain the
nurses to either
qualifications.
study postgraduate courses in midwifery
Yeah.
or nurse practitioners.
3 bursaries, local nurses, for local nurses to attain midwifery or nurse practitioner qualifications.
yes,
yeah.
yes, that's what it is. It just wasn't right.
Well, I think councillor Burkett was first, unless you were asking the question, but you wanted to second it. Did you want to second it?
I said I was happy to second it. I just wanted to fix that up because I knew that it wasn't.
So what did we change? 3 bursaries for local nurses to attain midwifery or nurse practitioner qualifications.
Three bursaries for local nurses,
Yep.
and now just get rid of for local to attain midwifery or nurse practitioner qualification.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's good.
3 bursaries for local nurses to attain midwifery or nurse practitioner qualifications. So is the seconder happy with that? Righto, okay, so
3 and 4.
3, consider a funding contribution of $70,000 in the draft 23-24 budget. 4, be provided with a future report at an upcoming council meeting or briefing. Okay, we have a seconder for that. I'll speak to this. I do believe if we don't try and solve some issues locally, we cannot wait for people to ride over the hill and solve it for us. And I do believe we're a very caring community, and we do appreciate medical people in our area as well as, you know, all of the other things that we need. So I really believe this is a start, and we need to get on with it, and we'll keep fine tuning it and tweaking it, and it's just sort of like a thank you really for people that make our region better. Okay, does someone else wish to speak? Councillor O'Neill?
I'll speak up. I'm going to support this, and I'll credit where credit's due. Obviously, this was presented by yourself, Mayor, earlier in the piece, and it looked nothing like it did today. But I want to say thank you for having the appetite to include other elements that councillors in this room have brought to the table, as well as the stakeholders more broadly, who ultimately, will directly benefit from having an increase to the medical fraternity in town. I think particularly the second and third dot points of point 2 are really important to the now issue. We understand, and we're hearing loud and clear, that there is a significant lack of doctors, and we're heading towards a particular cliff. I think having it embedded in there that one would be for a medical intern retention, opportunity for someone to call our Maranoa community home, I think is vital. Equally, supporting local nurses to continue their studies in some vital areas, particularly midwifery, but then the nurse practitioner qualifications that support our hospitals right across our region, I think is vital as well. And obviously having a point in there to grow our own and to support, someone aspiring to undertake, their medical studies is important as well. But points 2 and 3, I think will address the concerns that we've got right now in the community. And I look forward to having a thorough, look at what the policy will be when it comes back to council.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Councillor Burkett?
I'll say something.
Yep, Councillor Burkett, then Edwards.
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I'd like to congratulate yourself as well, but also all of us in the room and the CEO. There's been vital input and there's a lot of robust discussion. I think it's a great mix and I think it's hopefully will work in the future. I think we've covered all bases and hopefully if they build it, they'll come and hopefully that's what we get because there's a big scream out for doctors and medical practitioners of all sorts in the community. So, yeah, well done, everyone.
Okay, Councillor Edwards.
I'd just like to say I fully support this and congratulations to everyone for all the input and for bringing it to the council. I'd just like to say it's a very good balance and it tends to fill the gaps. That's what I can see by this. Great initiative, and I'd like to think we've possibly listened to the community on this as well. I know it's very difficult to achieve the services we want out here, but we're trying very, very hard to do that. And also, the people's, ability to travel too. I think that's something else where, we're going to have to mix in with this, which would make it a lot better, for locals to, have access to, medical services within the Maranoa. So anything we can do to make it better, that's the name of the game.
Okay, does Councillor Hancock? Yep, please, go ahead.
I'll be honest, I actually really have struggled with this concept from the word go, simply because I actually don't think it's core council business. But as we have done before in local government, sometimes we have to actually step into a space that's not actually core council business because there is a gap there that needs servicing. And we've heard really clearly from our medical community that there's a gap coming, and having appropriate medical doctors and midwifery nurse practitioners in our community is critical for our community. So this is a gap that needs to be filled. Once again, I don't think it's our core duty, but I think we need to step in and do something. And because of today's discussion and the way that we've been able to work together as a council to come up with something that I think may have potential to assist and help grow our doctors in our regions, I think that will be an asset, and I'm happy to support this to give it a go. I don't know if it is the answer, but I think it's a gap that unfortunately we've had to step into, and so let's give it a go.
Okay, does anyone else wish to speak? Okay, well then I'll sum up, and I'd like to thank the CEO for all the work that you've done in speaking to universities and so forth and getting a lot of the feedback. So I'd like to thank you, CEO, for all of the work that you've done in this report and the feedback from my fellow councillors as well. So on that note, I'll go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that's 8-0 then. Okay. Now we're moving on to late closed. We should be. LC1, Injune Museum Concept Design Phase. Do we have a mover? Councillor Guthrie.
I'd like to move that Council 1 approve the concept design documents presented to Council in this report. 2, approve Cultural Heritage Injune Preservation Society's request to transfer funds from WO 22938.2800.2001 Museum Display Injune Heritage Museum directly to them. 3, request an invoice be sent to Council for $22,670 excluding GST before the 30th of June 2023. 4, request the Cultural Heritage Injune Preservation Society continue to involve Council in all aspects of the fit-out of the Injune Museum. And 5, request receipts be provided to Council as evidence that the funding has been used for the detailed designed documentation phase of the project.
Councillor McMullen seconds that. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? Councillor Guthrie.
I'd just like to say that the Injune Museum is coming along wonderful. It's along a time frame. It's great. This is just another step in the completion, and we look forward to getting to the point of being operational.
Righto. On that note, we'll go to the vote if no one else wishes to speak.
Yes.
Yes.
8-0. Page 32. LC2, Mitchell Swimming Pool Tender Evaluation.
I move we lay this on the table until the special meeting on Monday, 29th of May 2023.
Okay, all those in favour?
You second it? Oh, no, you don't.
No.
Yes.
No, it's just laying it on the table.
More information.
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, are you in favour, Councillor O'Neill?
I have my hand
Oh,
up.
right, okay. So that's 8-0. Okay, moving on. LC3, Swerdna Downs Road Resheet Project. I'd like to move that one, council consider funding amount of $150,000 for inclusion in the next stage of the draft 23-24 budget to resheet the remaining 3.309 kilometres section of the road. 2, maximise opportunities to reduce the capital cost by also optimising flood funding QRA on the 5.6 kilometres section of the road. And 3, consult the stakeholders on the road about opportunities for a dry weather road if appropriate. Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Hancock. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? I will speak to this. This is the people that live on this road have been very understanding and waiting, and I think this is wonderful if we can deliver gravel for them, which is gold with wet weather. But I do think we need to look at how we can extend the life. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could extend the life of the gravel by double, because we can not use it when we're not. But maybe that won't work, and all we're doing is we were saying that we should look at it. Does anyone else wish to
Mayor,
speak?
can I just ask a question? What does it, if appropriate, mean? Is that if...
Well, it might not fit the road corridor. It might just not work when
we
they...
tease that out with actually some sort of criteria. So I don't have an issue with any of this, except that consult with stakeholders on the road about a dry weather road.
If possible.
If possible.
If possible, or
Righto.
if financially, like...
No, I think just if we're happy with if possible, that will be good. It just really starts talking about it. Okay, is the seconder happy with that?
Actually, can we just change it around, because it makes it sound like we're saying consult the stakeholders if possible, but we actually want the stakeholders. It needs to be consult the stakeholders on the possibility of a dry
Weather.
Or the feasibility of a dry weather road.
Yeah, the feasibility of a dry.
Yeah.
That's a better word.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of a change around, because it makes it sound like it's about stakeholder engagement.
Righto. Do we need if possible then?
Stop.
If you don't, because the feasibility talks about what's possible and what's not.
Stakeholders on the feasibility. That's perfect. Yep.
Right, I'm happy with that. The second happy with that. Does anyone else wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, 8-0.
There's one left.
One left.
Okay, LC4, additional funding for a water upgrade project at the airport precinct. I'd like to move that Council 1 acknowledge the airport upgrade project is underway. 2, endorse additional expenditure of $134,000 for the project, including completion of the temporary line as part of the 2022-23 budget. 3, source the funds from work order 231613 at 120,000 and WO 23826 14,000. 4, inform Life Flight of expenditure and program of works completion date. Okay, do we have a seconder? Councillor Burkett. Any opposition? Does anyone wish to speak? We're going to go to the vote. All those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
8-0. Is there any further business, councillors? Well, on that note, we'll close the meeting at 5:34 p.m. and thank you for your attendance.